Okay, folks. Well, we got the old Cuda pretty much ready for paint for our friend Joe Williams at Just Mopar Joe on YouTube. So, finished getting all the bumpers off, got all the call outs, the badges off the car, went back and got the gas cap off, the trunk deck lid trim that comes back here. And again, this video is not Mopar specific. This is just muscle car specific. But I'm going to keep some certain things on here. I'm about to go into that. But for the most part, when he gets the car, he's got a pretty good canvas to start with. Now, you're going to say, well, Darren, you didn't get all the trim off of it. You didn't do everything. This is not going to be it's not going to be the same type of restoration as this green dart right here. This thing went on a rotisserie. This car is going to be a driver. I'll get into that in a moment. But the rear windshield and the front windshield, and you see this trim right here. GM cars have this type of trim, Fords, and they clip differently maybe a little bit here and there, but they have a lot in common. And here's what I want to say. From my experiences, this trim comes out, and there's a tool that you use to take them out, and they pop out. You have to be very patient. My trim's in great shape. I ain't messing with it. My windshield, rear windshield, they're all good. Even this drip rail molding, it's all good. Joe and I have already kind of talked about that. If Joe wants to pop this off, this stuff right here off, he's good at that. So I have no problem with this coming off. We're going to keep all of this intact. But I had a young guy come out, and when we did this black Charger, it had just been off a rotisserie, had a lot of money gone into the paint job, and had a young kid come out, and with the brand new windshield, the front and rear windshield on that car, and I asked him if he knew how to do an older car, install the windshield, the rear windshield on an older car. He said, yeah, easy. Well, he done Camrys and all your newer cars. They just plug in, they just plunk in, and I'm not sure it's a real easy process on the newer cars. These cars have gaskets. There's a gasket that windshield, the rear windshield and the front, you can kind of see it right there. There's that gasket. And that gasket, it goes into a channel. And it takes soap and water and all kinds of experience of getting that window into that channel, especially this curved glass. You can't find this rear glass on this car. No chances on that. But the front windshield, same way. It goes into a channel and it locks in. It locks into this thing. And you have to have the right tools. They'll go around like 3 or 4 times around that windshield. And this young kid was beating the hell out of that windshield on that Charger. And I asked him, I said, hey man, I don't know if you're supposed to be doing that. And he said, I know what I'm doing. Well, he hit it pretty hard on that windshield and it cracked it. And I said, hey man, I appreciate it. I think we need to part ways here. I don't think this is your thing of doing an older car. So I got an older gentleman, a friend of mine, Jackie, with a 67 Chevelle. He found somebody there in the local area that was used to doing these windshields. Now, once you get that windshield set in, here's the other part. On your garnish molding, or I guess they call it garnish molding, windshield molding. This stuff is fragile. And when you go to put it in, it's got little clips. If you look over here at this car, there's little holes. You see these little holes right here? There's little clips that go in there from the factory, and Kevin he'll buy the new clips for it. But those clips are what accommodate that molding that goes around. And if you go in and you start putting that molding around, you start hitting it, beating the hell out of it, you dent it and you ruin it. You will ruin this molding fast. You don't use a hammer, you don't use a dead blow, you push it and you'll hear it start clicking, and it'll start clicking. Now here's the other thing. You say, well, I'll just go get some new molding from Classic Industries. It sucks. The new molding on any of these muscle cars, that molding that goes around, I've yet to see any from Classic Industries anyway, or even year one, that's worth a damn. That it doesn't fit. There's certain things on these old cars that just, like fenders and quarter panels, they don't fit like the NOS stuff does. So that's another reason why you don't want to take this off unless you absolutely find it necessary to do. So with all that being said, again, this is a driver car. It's going to get a really nice paint job. However, when Joe's done with it, it'll go into car shows and still have a blast with it. But this car here went through the rotisserie. It was a different animal. It had rust issues and everything, got reskinned. So that's the differences. So you got a Camaro, you got a Mustang, you got a Chevelle, you got a Roadrunner, any of those cars, you need to make that decision what kind of paint job you're going to go after. And another thing on the interior, a lot of these old cars, they painted the inside. It could be the dash, like a lot of your Tri-5 Chevys are painted real pretty on the inside. This right here, it to me has not been needs to be cleaned up, but it's patina. That's decades of arm hanging out the window going down the road. And not just me, probably the old man that owned it. And I will clean all this up and it'll polish out, but I'm not touching that. You got some cars though that you do have to change the interior. You do have to do some painting on the interior. Then you are going to need to go ahead and remove most of the things in the car. The only reason we're removing the seat in this car is so Joe can remove the roll bar. And then we're going to finish pulling all the wiring out of the dash and do some things with the dash. So driver quality, still spend a lot of money, but probably a lot more affordable than full rotisserie paint job, tear the whole car down. That's the differences. And like I said, my windows, quarter windows are all still in good shape. You need to find a good paint. Now, man, finding a good painter, it's really hard to do. We had a place down in Texas near Mansfield, a guy named John Bridges at Creative Paintworks. He did an Apache for us. He does all of my friend Fabian's cars. He does top-notch work. But he's busy. And, if you call him, he's going to say, it'll be another year before I can get to it because he's got such a backlog. And these cars are not like new cars. They take a long time. These aren't plastic like the new stuff. So finding a good painter you want to ask around and find out about that paint shop, what kind of quality did they do? How did they treat you during the build? Prices are going to vary. They're going to vary, but it's going to be expensive. I can tell you that. But it can be really expensive but worth it. I would say that your guys that aren't going to do any body work and just shoot it, and then I've seen cars that have been painted and then a month later they're peeling because they didn't use the right primer. They didn't have it, the temperature wasn't right when they painted it. There's a lot of factors that go into that. So you got to do your homework. You got to do your research on a shop that will go in and do the body work and do the paint. That's why I'm so thankful I found Joe that would take the time to fix all those dings and make my car like I wanted it to be again. And you got guys that do nothing but the full out rotisserie type work like this. So I hope this was a brief video. I hope the prepping your car for paint makes you think. Don't tear it all the way down if you don't have to. But do everything you can to save money and talk it over with your painter, obviously. Hey, how much do you want? If they don't want you to take it apart, but they're going to still charge you, well, you can have that discussion. But anyway, I hope this helped everybody. We're going to have everything ready for Joe. It's going to go in June because he's backed up with work. So I hope everybody has a good day. Thanks, everybody.